Hello and welcome back to the Skift Travel Podcast. I'm Skift Editor-in-Chief Sarah Kopit as always, and Seth is here with me too. And today, I assure you, this photograph is not a rendering. What am I talking about? Okay, so this was the line that was repeated numerous times by Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky late last week at the Airbnb summer release event, where he introduced the company's new experiences product called Icons. It's Airbnb's re-entry into the experiences space after quietly pulling back on it quite some time ago. It started with the Barbie Dream House that Airbnb temporarily set up last summer. You probably saw that somewhere on your social media feeds or in the media. It was wildly successful. He talked about that a lot. And so Airbnb decided to double down with more houses designed to fuse life, art, and pop culture. So first, let's listen to Chesky himself talk about it to set this up. He had just finished describing the popularity of the real-life Barbie house. Here's a clip.
These experiences, they captured people's imagination. And they allowed people to step into someone else's world. And at its best, this is what Airbnb does. And it's what we always have been about. So we asked ourselves, what if we took this magic to the next level? What if we made these experiences even bigger, did them all the time, and you could find them directly in the app? Well, that is exactly what we've done, because today we are introducing Icons. Icons are extraordinary experiences from the world's greatest icons in music, film, sports, and more. Icons take you inside worlds that only existed in your imagination until now. And today, what I'm going to do right now is unveil the first 11 icons. So you ready? Yeah. It starts with Up. Wow, I love this audience.
And that audience that he says he loves so much, you were a part of that audience, right, Sarah? He loves you.
There you go. Yeah, so I was there. It really was cool. We were talking about this before we started recording. I was a bit of a skeptic kind of going into it. I knew a little bit about, what they were going to launch, but I don't know. He sold me on it. Like being there in that room, it really was impressive.
Do you think that he has, that was a straight Apple Steve Jobs style presentation. Does he have that reality distortion field? Were you fully bought into the icons?
A little bit. This podcast, I would recommend if you can go sit in front of a computer or just pull up, some of the visuals that Airbnb has about it. This is going to be a very visual focused conversation because it's hard to really describe what these icons really are or why they're cool, which is kind of why I think like they've given the press on what we call embargo, just the press release that they were going to put out about them, before I went into that room. So I knew that they were going to, have this product called Icons and it was going to be experiences. And I was just, it's a bit of a head scratcher. There were no pictures. And I was like, what is this? What are they going to be doing? But not only did he go through those, the 11 icons, like on the video, he showed videos of them behind them on the big screen. They actually had the Up house we were in a big movie studio lot. So they had the house. They actually brought it there to Los Angeles. And it was, it was something. It was something how they did this, because one of the things for the houses that they turned into houses from cartoons, and we'll talk a little bit about what icons were in just a second. So there were two houses that they made based on cartoons. So one was Up, the other is X-Men 97. So there's a house in Westchester County that they turned into the X-Men 97 house. And so when you walk in, and they let us, walk into the Up house there, all of the details, it's very, very strange. It almost looks like a Michel Gondry movie. Like everything, it's not that they brought in like objects to look
No,
like.
it looked 2D,
Yeah,
right?
it looked like a cartoon. Yes,
Have you
it looked 2D.
a,
It was.
a far lower scale reference than the one you just made, but it's like those
Yeah.
backpacks. Have you seen those weird 2D painted animation backpacks? Okay,
No.
never.
I'll look that up later. Sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
No, I mean, so I watched the clip. I like the Xavier's Mansion one too. I'm a big X-Men fan, and so
Yeah.
like it was
Oh,
very
okay.
cool. Like again, for our listeners, you really do need to see the visual on this one, where it's this like cool, crazy paint effect where the paint comes in as 2D. So Sarah,
They
tell
like
us a little.
flattened everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's right. Everything's flat.
Yeah.
So what are the icons? So these icons are these iconic homes that are available on Airbnb now. So tell us a little more about them.
Yeah. So they were, or they're not really, I mean, some of them were homes, but some of them were like you can go and stay in the place where they make Ferraris. This is the one. If I could go to any of these,
I
that
was gonna
yeah,
ask you that question, Sarah. I was literally gonna ask you which one would you pick? It's
yeah.
Ferrari.
So yeah, either Ferrari or so to stay in the Ferrari factory, and they have a bed with like 10 Ferraris like all around you. That was cool. And then they also have one that's at a museum on the Thames that's going to be open during the Paris Olympics. So
Yeah.
it's actually like it might be that one just to also kind of go to the Olympics. Like
Yeah.
that would be cool. So they have like museum stuff, or I would say maybe like those would be more the adult, maybe the more sophisticated icons houses. But then like I mean, I'm going to age myself as I often do. There were a few of them that like I had not heard of the
Oh,
icons.
yeah. Well, there
Like,
was well, it goes both ways, right? Because they had that TikTok star
yep,
Kame something. I'm not a
yes,
TikToker
yeah,
either.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
you also had Prince or Prince's estate was
Yep,
involved with members of
yep.
his
Purple
band.
Rain. The Purple
Kevin
Rain
Hart?
house.
No, not Kevin. Who was it?
Yeah, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Yep, Kevin Hart, Doja Cat. Um,
So
they
some of these
had
are really celebrity experiences then. Like some of them are really
yeah,
kind of like behind the scenes of concerts or stand-up comedians and stuff like that.
absolutely, and they're going to be there. I think my take on it is for this to be successful for Airbnb, and I, it's like who am I to doubt them at this point? They've been just so wildly successful with their PR and marketing. Um, is picking the intellectual property partners that they're going to partner with because
Mhm.
it you know if they can't keep like the cool factor however they define that for their customers, like if that's a miss or a misjudgment, it all falls apart. If it's not, if they kind of strike that like magic kismet, it's the Barbie house all
Mhm.
over again, right? And then it, of course, is like the most successful thing they've ever done ever. So I think that's really the key to making this work. People have
Yeah,
to want to share their pictures on social media. If
yeah,
they
I think
don't, it doesn't work.
well, they're tying themselves very closely to pop culture, right? I mean, I think that
Very
there is
much.
a risk, like like when a movie comes out and it's on the box of Cheerios or whatever, I don't get excited about the Cheerios. I'm just
Right.
like, oh, it's whatever. It's just a standard movie market integration. I don't go to McDonald's and get the Barbie Happy Meal or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do. Maybe they would, but
I was going to say children actually, I can, we have so many. Yeah. At my house. Yeah.
well, I think my point is that's the line they have to walk between
Yeah.
becoming a Happy Meal toy of just a whatever versus a
Yeah.
really special and unique experience where people get excited. And you're right, and they share it and they enter. This is, by the way, effectively free, right? Most
Yeah.
of these are free. I think some of
Yeah.
them are.
Most of them are free. I mean, some of them they're going to charge like $100, but I mean, I
It's a
don't even know
steal.
why. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and they're doing it kind of like the Willy Wonka golden ticket. They even actually use that golden ticket in their promotional materials. So I believe how it works. I haven't gone there to try to put my name on to go to
Yeah,
the Paris Olympics or the Ferrari thing, but I think you put your name, like it drops, you put your name on the list, and then they select,
yeah.
whoever to go.
I've never won a contest in my life, so I don't think that
Yeah,
I
I
have
haven't
good
either.
odds of getting
Yeah.
this. Honestly, I don't know that I was that impressed, Sarah, to be honest,
Yeah.
though. Like, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but like, this is a platform with hundreds of thousands of listings and it's just 11 homes. I don't see it like, it's kind of, I was a little disappointed, not disappointed, I guess, but like, it just seemed like it seemed like really exciting and really cool. And I get why Brian is excited about it. And certainly if I was selected, all my criticism aside, if I was selected to go to the Paris Olympics, I would be really happy about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just right now. I think it's just 11 homes effectively, and they're for free. They don't even make any money off of them. So I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like there are no hosts in this.
Yeah.
Like you talk about, possible mission drift or a possible risk. Like the whole premise of Airbnb really was, you have a host, you're going to share your home, your experience with, the world. And so here, these houses, I think this was one of the things that I kind of mistakenly thought walking in is that it was going to be like the Taylor Swift houses that people that like popped up organically. Like that isn't what this is. These are over the top Airbnb creations. I can't even imagine how much money they put into making these things what they are.
It's got to be hundreds of more, maybe millions.
Depending upon, because there were some of them like the Bollywood actress that they have. I believe it's just kind of going to her house.
Yes,
which
that's right.
Would be amazing. So it would just be really meeting her and hanging out. And so that therein lies the statement about, it's really getting the right mix of intellectual property.
Yeah. And the Kevin Hart one and the Bollywood one in particular very much seem to be like Doja Cat too. We're really about hanging out, less about the actual property.
And then there was another one about going on tour with maybe a DJ. I also didn't know that one.
We're definitely this is not a pop culture podcast, that's for sure. We're falling.
I feel like I need to open a tab here on my screen and pull up the icons. I should have done that before I came in here, before we started recording. Yeah.
There was one that was a tour of the DJ, Kevin Hart, Doja Cat, the Bollywood one sounded kind of great. I think that'd be very cool. It looked like a beautiful home.
Go on tour with Feed, possibly. FEID. It looks like a you know what it looks like? It looks like the slime from Nickelodeon.
Slime Time Live.
It's a tour bus though. Here, I'll send this over to you.
So the point here that I think is interesting is that this is in many ways, and this I think ties back to Airbnb's business and maybe some mission drift stuff. This is in many ways an experience more than it is a stay.
Absolutely. This is Airbnb's big push into experiences. And I actually had the opportunity. I talked to Brian before the event, which was really interesting because he said that, one of the things that he told himself when getting into kind of new new avenues, new business ventures, he's like, I wasn't going to do it unless I could really like commit to it and just like, and really do it and really have it be successful. And so for experiences, they tried doing that. And when I talked to him in the fall, he told me, he was like, yeah, like that's the big thing that in the travel industry is just waiting to crack. Like nobody's really like broken out with it yet or figured out really how to monetize it and at scale. And he said, even them at that point, like they had not either. And so I didn't know it, of course, then. I'm sure he was already, thinking about this, but this is their like big swing into experiences.
Yeah. So you think that we'll see more to come? Like, I mean, they've got to start charging at some point if it's going to be a business.
He said that was the impression that I got. I mean, they said that they were doing 11 now, but that, there were more to come. And, I mean, they can't keep doing this. I assume that they hope that, I think the Taylor Swift houses were probably, it's the one that keeps on coming to mind, that like actual hosts just took it upon themselves to decorate their houses just like the Taylor Swift songs for the
Yeah.
tour. And I think that I would guess they're hoping that people see this, they get ideas, and they want to kind of launch their own, and they see it as something that could be successful as just a regular, a host out there in the
Yeah.
world.
And there are, homes today on the platform that probably already meet that criteria that just need to
Yeah,
be kind of transferred over to this
right.
category.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good point to go to a break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about Brian Chesky, what he said about experiences, what he said at our global forum about experiences, and we'll continue talking about Airbnb's business model and what's in store for Airbnb right after this break.
We launched Experiences in late 2016. It was doing pretty well. We were getting millions of bookings a year. I thought 2020 was going to be the breakout year for Experiences. And instead, suddenly, the whole thing got unpaused. And so any network-based business that has to pause, it does this, and you've got to re-crank it, and it takes sometimes multiple years to get the network back to where it was. Experiences are now back to where they were pre-pandemic, and we haven't made a lot of investment in it. We were really focused on this travel rebound of the century. We thought travel was going to rebound greater than anything we've ever seen since World War II. It happened. And so now, over the next year or two, we're going to make some ample investments in Experiences. And I do think that's part of the next chapter of Airbnb. So stay tuned. I think there will be a product refresh in the future.
So that was Brian Chesky at our Skift Global Forum in 2022, talking about what made them back off from their previous experiences, how they've had to recrank and restart their business. If you missed those hand motions, there was a negative symbol with a hand that had to be recranked like an old-timey engine. And that's what we've been discussing in this podcast, of how they're sort of relaunching their experiences, changes to the Airbnb strategy. And by the way, Brian was on stage on 2023, and it's become a tradition. And you got to buy
Stay tuned.
or if he'll show up, but let's hope so.
Yeah. So Icons is all about, marketing and PR and excitement. And I know, Seth, you and the researchers at Skift have really done a lot looking at, just how this particular company in travel does it better almost than anyone else. How do you think they've done that? Why do you think they have been so successful at this?
Yeah. I mean, I think Airbnb has built, and this is my professional opinion, I think that they've built probably the strongest single brand in the travel industry. They've done an amazing job of it. And they've done more than just build a brand for building a brand's sake, just like some of the people like. They've used it and they've turned it into real profit, and they've leveraged it to turn, dollars and cents. And so one of the things I was thinking about when we were talking about Icons and, you get the embargo, you're thinking about, I said before that I was a little skeptical, a little disappointed of Airbnb's Icons launch. It's just 11 homes. Who cares? But what I really got thinking is that this is really a big part of their massive PR and branded advertising push, and really earned media, where earned media is where the media and the news reports on you, and they tell stories about Airbnb rather than paid advertising. And what we've seen so many other travel companies do is they lean incredibly heavy into paid advertising and performance marketing, specifically that we're going to talk about in a future podcast, specifically that Google search engine marketing. It eats up, with no exaggeration, billions and billions and billions of dollars of advertising budgets of those little blue links on Google, trying to get people to click on websites. And Airbnb has totally broken out of that cycle because people come to Airbnb Direct because they see these really interesting news stories or activations or things like this. And it has a real impactful on the bottom line.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. Chesky told me that the Barbie house, he was saying that it actually even surprised them because, when Airbnb went public, for example, IPOs are massively covered. The Airbnb IPO was, epic for that industry. He said that the Barbie house organically got 2.5 times the amount of coverage, clicks, just organic media mentions than their IPO did.
Well, there's a lot more Barbie fans than there are IPO investors, I suppose.
Yeah, right? Right. I
Uh,
guess, yeah. You and I would not be those two,
yeah.
would not be. I like the Barbie movie, but
Let me give you some numbers that I just pulled before this podcast, just like dollars and cents. So this is from
yeah.
SimilarWeb. This is direct traffic. So what percent of traffic is direct to the website? So people type it in directly. On Expedia and on Booking.com, it's something like 40 to 50% of traffic is direct. So only half of people who visit Expedia actually typed in Expedia. On Marriott, it's something like 40%. On Delta, it's something like 60%. Airbnb gets 70 to 80% of their traffic direct. And so basically there's a huge amount of clicks that they get for free because of stuff like the Barbie house. And so my initial, thought with my cold hard Excel financial analysis hat, I was like, this is a waste of money. It's just 11 houses. Like, who cares? But the more I thought about it, I was preparing for this podcast, I was like, this is really an marketing investment, and it's a really
Yeah.
smart market investment. Rather than spend a couple of $1 million building these houses, Expedia is going to spend $2 billion on Google. So there's an order of magnitude difference there.
And
I think it's just an interesting point.
yeah, and you also get the, I don't know, street cred from like organic marketing, as everyone knows, like
Yeah.
it resonates with humans more than, when somebody's trying to buy your attention. We all
And
know
it- and
when
it- and
that's happening,
Yes. And I think it also works because of the product too, because they have such interesting
Yeah.
and unique product. It gets you inspired to say, well, all right, I can't stay at this Bollywood home, but maybe I can find a great home in Chennai or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, and
So,
what? One of them that they've had before that isn't
yeah.
one of the icons, but it started this out, which I just like being it like, oh, the nostalgia is the Blockbuster house. Have you heard
Yeah.
about that one? So
Well,
there's only one Blockbuster left in the United States. And inside that Blockbuster, Airbnb put a bed and like decorated it like like the 90s, like it looked like my parents' basement, and where we used to go to Blockbuster, get all that good stuff.
yeah.
And so they set it up and they put it on Airbnb. It was several years ago, and Chesky told me that they still get people, lots and lots and lots of people requesting to stay there. They kind of wish they could,
They could,
do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exit strategy from
Like
that
lightning in a
Blockbuster
bottle.
as an Airbnb.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I think it's such an interesting point to me, which is that it all has to do, in my opinion, with Airbnb's product too, where like the reason why doesn't Expedia just go out and buy a Blockbuster and put a bed in it? I don't think it would work for Expedia because you can't rent what you're getting in Expedia. The product is commoditized, whereas Airbnb has this allure of the experience with the host and a unique property.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to stay in a yurt or a bungalow. And so it feels a little more natural to be like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to book a houseboat on Airbnb. Maybe I can book a Blockbuster. And I don't think it works as well for Marriott, who's like, well, if Marriott did a Barbie house, you'd still know that when you went to check into your Des Moines Marriott, you'd get a Marriott. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, apparently, Chesky told. I'm going to interrupt you again. I know you're trying to get to other stuff, but I'm just like going to go right back to icons again. Where it actually started, like the seed of this idea was in the early days of Airbnb. They put a bedroom in an IKEA.
Yeah.
He and his partner were in like shopping at IKEA as one does. And we're thinking, wouldn't it be cool to stay in this bedroom? I've thought about that. I was like, oh, it's so nice. It's so much nicer than my house, And they did. And it was like wildly successful. And, the rest is history. Here we are.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's start.
Well, and I guess part of it's just that he's also a creative guy. Like this is also, I mean, we're going to stay on, now I'm staying on icons. This comes back to Chesky does not have a traditional CEO pedigree. He's a designer from the Rhode Island School of Design. His heroes are obviously the Pixar folks. There's a reason why it's up, and it's multiple Pixar integrations. Anyways,
Inside Out too.
I went to business school. My different set of philosophy, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about the future of Airbnb, and you did get a chance to sit down with Brian Chesky and kind of ask him some hard-hitting questions about where they're going next. So what did you What did you learn from him? I know you talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, here's one that's been on
Yeah.
my mind for a very long time: loyalty. Is that
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, so I was curious about that too. I mean, I told him that, when I flew to LA, I flew on American and I got points, and I was staying at a Marriott and I got points. But if I would have stayed in an Airbnb, guess what? No points. No,
Yeah,
nothing. Just, maybe a nicer or cozier experience, but like
maybe a
I
nice
wasn't.
host to make you breakfast, maybe.
Exactly. But I wasn't feeling like I was getting that reward that I did
Yes.
for with all of these other things. And so, he was pretty clear about it. He's like, I do not like points. I
Yeah.
do not like a point system. And so but he did say that they're certainly thinking about it. He said, and this was an interesting one. I think of all the stuff he said, this was very intriguing. He said that they're thinking about doing a loyalty program that's similar to Amazon Prime.
Wow. Amazon
Yeah.
Prime,
So
Airbnb
yeah.
Plus, Airbnb Prime.
So and I actually had to confirm with him. Like when I
Yeah.
went back and I listened to my interview, I'm like, so like a paid membership for Airbnb. He was like,
And
yeah, like
I
Amazon Prime.
assume it's not sleeping in a warehouse, right? That's something different.
No, although that would probably be successful as well, but I digress. But no, yeah. So so where I mean, I don't know what you would get for your membership, if it would be lower rates, or
Yeah.
what
Interesting.
what the
A
perk
couple of
would be. But
there are a number of online travel companies that have tried a paid
hmm
subscription like this. I think eDreams Odigio is one of the
yeah,
ones that's doing the most. They have this. They literally call it Prime. You can imagine where they got the inspiration
yeah,
from.
yeah,
And
shocking.
so it's like paid. Yeah, it's a paid member, and then you get discounts. TripAdvisor tried something similar. It didn't work as well for them. It's an interesting idea. I mean, we have said at Skift Research, we've said it in our reports, like we do believe that like loyalty is an emotion. It's not a program.
Yeah,
And so often loyalty has become shorthand for a very labyrinthine points program
yeah,
instead of an actual behavior. So it's
yeah,
interesting. All right.
yeah, yeah.
No.
So stay tuned. But it's. I mean, my gut is that it's coming, like, in that he
Okay.
wanted to kind of talk about it. So
Okay, that's cool. All right.
yeah, so
You heard it here
you heard it
first.
here first. Yeah,
One of the
exactly.
other one of the other things he was eager to talk about on the global forum last year was AI and artificial intelligence. They had a
Yeah.
chance to integrate with ChatGPT and they passed on it.
Mm.
Have they done much since?
So he told me, I did ask him about this because a year ago, so last May 2023, he talked to our CEO at Skift and told him that this year, like right now, you would see a whole new Airbnb and it would be all centered on AI. And so, here we are, May 2024, and obviously Icons is almost the exact opposite of AI, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's very front of house, it's flashy, like it's like not tech. It's the opposite of that.
yes,
And
yes.
so he did say, he's like, yeah, perhaps I love this, like, as a journalist. He's like, I want to be very careful what I say to you, because like you're writing this down, you're going to hold me to it, right? So he said, perhaps we overpromised a bit on the AI like revolution. He said, but he's still really bullish on it. It's taking a little bit longer than so he didn't go into specifics about what Airbnb was doing with
Hmm.
AI, or what kind of like the back end might look like, other than, what he said in the past, which is that it will be, used mostly to be a concierge service. And one of the things that I really can see about Airbnb, and he's talked about this before, how they would use AI and how it would be incredibly helpful, is if when a guest calls in and they have a problem, every guest thinks that their specific situation is so unique. But if you have like half a billion situations
Yeah,
logged into your proprietary, um,
yeah,
large language model, guess what? Like, there's going to be more than a few of those people who have had like a very similar situation. And that AI can sort through all of that like a human never would, and give the customer service rep, like, okay, so these are the like 10 situations where we had a good result. Try these, like in an instant.
Yeah.
And so that on the customer service end seems like a very, very plausible way that they would use AI.
Yeah, and I like using the AI, the idea of using AI for feedback too, because it's one of those things where like I don't know that a person who's like locked out of their Airbnb in the middle of wherever like wants to talk to a
Right.
computer, but I do think that like those tools can be really useful in being like, hey, you know
Yeah.
what, here's the top 5 issues that are hurting us, and one of them is key exchanges, and the other one, there's a lot of cool stuff they can do with AI. I know they're using a lot of the AI behind their categories tabs.
Yeah.
That's not generative AI. That's old school machine
Yeah.
learning and image vision kind of
Pre-generative.
stuff.
Yeah.
Pre-generative AI. I like that
Yeah.
word, pre-generative
Yeah.
AI. But I know that they
Um,
built a lot of their categories tabs on that.
did
And
you
then I
watch the
think
show Foundation? Are you a sci-fi fan?
no, I haven't seen it.
Really? You would
Really?
strike
Yeah.
me as, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no,
So
it's exactly up my alley. It's
yeah.
you're not wrong. I'm the one
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, I next time I'm here, I'll have my Star Trek mug from like 97 with me, which has a little chip in it. I'm so sad. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I like in Foundation, they use this like they use math, they say, to predict the future. And I never really got it
Yeah.
until we kind of started thinking about generative AI in the way, and now I'm like, okay, like I finally kind of it clicked with me. Like you get just that many set of
Yeah.
situations, and
Yeah.
like time after time after time after time after time, it always ends the same. So if you feed the computer this, you know,
Enough
that one
information.
query, enough information, it can essentially predict the future. Dun
Wow.
dun dun. Yeah.
Star Trek meets Airbnb
There
coming
you
up next,
go.
right? And
Well,
you
that's
also went
that's
on
what
to
I
say
would want, like the Star Trek house, like personally, the next
I
generation, not the house. It would have to be the Enterprise,
the
Jean
bridge
Luc.
of the Enterprise, right? With
Yeah, 10 forward. If
that
Patrick
would be
Stewart could be there, that would be even better.
that. There we go. There we go. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm now. You got my years turned.
Now,
What would
now
be
you're
my
speechless.
nighttime?
We've drifted way off course.
So okay, you
So what
also
else should we
talked.
talk about? Yeah,
What else, well, let's finish up. Let's finish up what you learned from Brian
yeah.
Chesky. That's the one thing we want to hear. I think there's a few more things. One is about super hosting. Um,
Mm.
One is about super hosting. Is that still sticking around? I mean,
Yeah, so he said that so there are 2 designations now. There's superhosts or 2 big designations for people who are putting their listings on Airbnb. There's superhosts and there's guest favorites. So you can kind of be both if you're a host, but they have different criteria. And some of the hosts that we have talked to, our journalists have talked to, they're kind of disappointed because they think that guest favorites has, kind of eclipsed superhost status, and
hmm,
people work really hard to get superhost status. And Chesky told me, he's like, you know what, that was kind of by design.
yeah,
It was kind of like they wanted to really give other renters or customers, they wanted to share this, information that other guests had shared to really kind of show people, what they were going to get. Like I said to him, I don't stay at an Airbnb, for example, when I travel because like, I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. And when I'm traveling, I just need to be like in and out and a cup of coffee and I need everything to work. And he was like, and I was staying at a Sheraton in LA, and he said, I guarantee you, if you stayed somewhere at an Airbnb with guest favorites, it is more reliable than a Sheraton. He's like, and you can quote that. So,
wow,
he's like, we just know it. We know it because of all of the information we have from guests. So there was that. And then we also talked a little bit about what he was doing with his multi-billion-dollar pay package, which I did not ask. I did not have the confidence, Seth, to ask him if he had listened to our podcast last week.
no,
I just couldn't. I just
All right, well,
couldn't. I just
Brian,
didn't want to hear.
if you're listening this week, Brian, send us an email. We want to hear the
Yeah,
feedback. Let us know how we did.
just let me know. I was too shy, which is not something that is common for me to ask. But anyway, he did answer the question. He told me that he has donated $100 million to the Obama Foundation. That's one of his charities of choice. That President Obama, during his presidency, was kind of a mentor to him, and he really, he likes President Obama and he respects him.
About
And
a name
so
drop, huh? I read that.
I know,
interview.
right?
What a name
I know.
drop! What a
I
name
know.
drop! My close personal friend Barack.
I know. Well, I almost said to him, like, I had to hold back. I'm like, as one does,
Yeah.
when you're hanging out with your mentor, the president, right? But he, so he said that. He said that he has given a lot of money to the war effort in Ukraine. He said when that happened that he personally backstopped a lot of the donations there, that he feels really strongly about that. So and then he said that he has a lot of other gifts that he wants to give on a regular basis, but he wouldn't name them. And then there's the Host Endowment Fund, which he also said that he would be donating. I believe it was another $100 million to.
So that's I think that's new. That's news. That's
Yeah.
new information.
Yeah,
So it's $100
that's
million
new.
to the Obama Foundation, $100 million Host Endowment, tens of million to Ukrainian aid. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
He's doing it. But he's making a lot of money too, which, as we said last time, good for him, because it's, this is one of those companies, once in a generation kind of thing. So.
Well, I'm glad that we could get that closure for fans of the pod who are listening to multiple episodes. We can have a little bit of a tie back. So we did if you didn't hear it, go listen to it. We did a whole podcast on CEO earnings and travel, and we focused on Brian Chesky and his multi-billion-dollar pay package. And yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation talking about the new Airbnb summer release, the icons, what it means. And thank you so much for those insights from your conversation with Brian Chesky. It's not often we get to talk to him one-on-one.
Yeah. So, and also we like talking to all of you. Seth and I, we get your emails for those of you who are sending them in. So keep them coming, and we will see you next week.
Yep.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Have a good one. Bye.